Hey guys, I'm Glued, and today I'm going to talk about something that I have not seen anybody else talk about. And that would be, how fast should leveling be in MMOs? Now, this video was inspired by people in a rather long comment chain for a video that I watched, which they didn't understand that there is such a thing as too slow of a progression. And I tried to explain it to them, but I didn't do a very good job. So I figured I can't advertise it there, but I will just put it out. I'm just putting this video out there, and hopefully they'll watch it. But the idea is for me to explain it better than I did. That's really the whole idea of this. And for people who are not part of that comment thread, who do want to understand, to know how fast leveling should be, this video is for you. For the people who are who don't really get the whole there's a good and bad leveling speed thing as well. Now, I'm going to start off by talking about when progress is too fast, because that is definitely something that is very important to talk about. And I think that a lot of people understand that there's such a thing as too fast of progress, but I don't think everybody does when they should. So, excuse me. The thing with too fast of progress is that, well, first of all, is you get levels that you didn't earn. What I mean by that is that you got a whole level from doing one quest and nothing else, or you get a level from mining a single piece of ore, or a series of ores from one rock, or from skinning something, or stuff like that. You progress at such a rapid pace that you're not actually learning the mechanics of the game. You're just rushing to end game. What this does is that it takes everybody from the beginning and pushes them way too quickly through the content. And you have these sparse people in the middle, but you'll have most everybody very quickly at the end. And when people are at the end without actually knowing how their class works, how anything really works, you have these people doing dungeons and quests and raids that are for high-skilled players. But they're not high-skilled players. They didn't get the chance to learn, to become one. And that is an objectively bad game design choice. The reason for that isn't just because, it causes people to get frustrated because they can't actually do the content and there's nothing else to do, because they want to quit, because of those two reasons, but because it causes the game to die before it even has a chance to be successful. It creates a low player count where only the most dedicated hardcore fans of the game will reside, and that creates a very end culture, which, along with the low population count, just isn't something that potential new players would want to get into. They don't want small population worlds. They don't want these really high intensity end cultures that, if you're not as into it as they are, and you criticize it even a little bit, that you're the devil, and we don't want to play with you, because that will happen. That's the problem with these kind of cultures. they they're tribal, and it happens way too often in MMOs and outside of MMOs, actually outside of gaming. But we're not going to talk about outside of MMOs because it's just too broad of a subject, too long of a subject. Um, but yeah, these are problems that we have seen a lot in MMOs. A lot with mobile MMOs, definitely. And some PC MMOs, but it's not really a one platform over another platform issue, although it's more of an issue for mobile MMOs. It's complicated. But let's move on to the other side, which is what this topic is really about. And that is when progress is too slow. Now, I don't remember the name of the game. It's Star Wars something. Turbines, I think it is. Star Wars Turbines. If it's not correct, I'll have the correct name up on the screen. And, an apology or something. But anyways, what people don't realize is that that game exists. And I think that it's not a bad game. It definitely has some charm to it. But it has very painfully slow progress. I've spent a week just trying to level up once. And with how slow the progress is, you have to have a lot of patience. You have to remember to come back to it every single day that your time is not being taken up in game. Like, what I mean is that in the game, you can do tasks like hunting every hour or a few hours, and you just come back to those and keep doing that and go to a different place, and that takes a lot of time. But then there's travel between solar systems and different sides of the galaxies that can take several days to several weeks. And they don't actually, from what I've heard, they don't give a lot of XP, so it's not really worth it so much on its own. And that's honestly objectively bad game design. And the reasons for this is actually quite similar to the super fast progression in that major glitch there, but anyways, that there's a big put off to that. When you have to do that, you don't get the casual players, which is the majority of people. They don't have the time or the patience to do this. You don't get the hardcore people because they can't play very often, or for very long. And honestly, there isn't actually a lot to do. You're stuck grinding the same things over and over and over again before you can get something new. But that's not fun. There isn't a lot of meaningful goals that you are going to through this grinding that make it worth it. And even if there was, taking a week to level once, or even a month to level once, it causes other issues, like there are groups of players doing different groups of content that only they can play because they're in a specific time window. And then they have these spots of content that nobody can play because the MMOs have these spots of content that nobody can play because there's nobody in those time that are together to play that, unless the solo people who are managing to grind on their own. But then if you have these solo players grinding on their own, or people who want to be social, but they're not part of any kind of time group of players, people who come on and play at the same time, or join at the same time, then that destroys the social aspect of it. And it also causes the problem that if you start off too far ahead, too long before your friends do, or a friend does, then they need to catch up. And for them to catch up, the only two ways you can do that is one, make a new character, or two, simply wait and don't play the game until they've caught up. But that's not fun. The second way is not really fun. The first way can be fun, if the game allows it anyways, if the company who makes it allows it. But of course, you would have to allow to have a second character on the server. Not all games do that. Excuse me, I have a little acid in my throat, so hold on. Anyways, so if they don't allow you to make a new character on the same server, you would either have to make it on a new server if possible. If that's not allowed, you have to break the rules and make a new account. And it's not really worth it to get yourself banned trying to play with your friend. Honestly, it just destroys the whole social aspect of the game. But darn bugs. Anyways, but the benefit of it is that you do have more high-skilled players that are actually learning the class and the other mechanics. So you have the people at in-game who deserve to be there. It just takes forever for you to get there, That is why it's objectively bad for the game to have such a slow progress, that you can only level once a week, or once a month, or a couple times a week, or a couple times a month. It needs to be somewhere in the middle. It needs to be friendly to casual players and hardcore players. Unless the game is completely built around one of these two groups. Now, that's okay. That's actually very much okay, and I'll make a video about why that's okay. But if you're catering to the casual audience, the progress should definitely be a little faster than if you do to the hardcore audience, obviously. But they should both not be nearly as fast as I talked about before. But the problem is figuring out how fast should be. How fast that should be compared to how it is now. There's no easy answer to this, because every MMO is designed differently. Unless, you have somebody make a complete rip-off of somebody else's MMO, and that has happened. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but that has happened. But regardless, there's going to be some variation in how fast it should be, depending on the MMO, and I think that this is a topic that should also be taken on the individual MMO level. Like, how fast should the leveling in Guild Wars 2 be? Or Star Wars The Old Republic? Or, anything really. Any of the MMOs. So, I think a good starting place would be limiting I can't talk suddenly. Limiting the advancement in level to like 3 to 4 a day. And not do this in a way where it's very artificial, where you get up to 4th level and then you get a message saying you have reached the maximum levels you can get today. You can no longer get XP. No, that is actually very bad. That makes people not want to play your game anymore. Do not do that. So, instead, just make the amount of XP needed so high that it's not possible to go over that, even with the most efficient methods. But for that to happen, you would as a designer have to know what the most efficient ways of doing it is. You'd have to carefully craft that, and that's a whole complicated thing that I can't really go into because I'm not experienced at leveling when it comes to the MMO scene, not in the design aspect, anyways. And I'm still a novice in understanding game design, anyways. It's definitely an interest of mine, though. I'm working on understanding it better, and when I do get a better understanding of this, I'll talk about it. But for now, I think that's a good starting point. Just having 3 to 4 levels max a day instead of like 3 or 4 levels a week at most, or 1 level a week. But it's it's a very difficult thing to figure out because what I said is it's reasonable. 3 to 4 levels a week or a day. I mean, I meant a day, but it also it also can be seen as too fast depending on how high the level cap is. Um, if I remember, World of Warcraft Classic, which I actually have not played, had a level cap of 60. And most MMOs have a level cap of 100 these days. Excuse me. So if the max level is a day is 4, and the max level a day, the cap level is 60, that's 10, almost like around 15 or so days, and that might be too fast, that might be too slow. I think there's a lot of discussion to be had here about that. I'm not perfect. I don't actually know if that's too fast or too slow. I think that comes down to individual taste. It's definitely possible for somebody to actually get good at an MMO in 15 days. Some people need more time than that. So, maybe for people who are finding it too fast and they're not really learning the mechanics, there could be an option that slows down progress. And then there could be ways to slow it down by, like, I don't know, I cannot speak again. Having the amount of XP you get per whatever, per kill, per or mined. Or you could simply increase the amount of XP needed for that person per level. There's definitely a lot of ways that can be done. Excuse me. The difficulty with them is, how do you do that without it feeling artificial? You definitely don't want it to feel artificial and take away from the immersive feeling. If the game has an immersive feeling to begin with, which it really needs one. But I think that's something that also needs to be discussed. And hopefully somebody mentions that, in the comments section, what they think would be a method that is good and doesn't feel artificial, or isn't good because it's artificial. These are just 2 ways that I could come up with on the spot on how to do this. Because this isn't a scripted video by any measure. Basically, I just made bulletins, and then I'm going off of that. But yeah, that's all I have to say today. So thank you for watching, and if you liked it, hit the like button. But more importantly, if you liked it or had some thoughts about this video, then just, you know, go into the comment section and make a reply. You can say that anything really about this video. I don't delete comments. I'm gonna read every comment that every comment that you post. At least, while it's manageable, I will keep this in the coming future. But, you know, I can only do as much as I can. But yeah, like if you liked it, comment if you have any thoughts, and, you know, until next time. I don't know when the next video will come out. Definitely by Saturday. I'm not going to do it any later than Saturday. I'm thinking about making a video at least twice a week now. Because once a week definitely is more manageable, but it doesn't let me grow as fast. And I kind of need to grow a little faster than this. So it can be steady and I don't have to worry as much. But anyways, that's my problem. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye. I gotta work on these outros so badly. I can't think of anything. I can never think of anything. Leave a comment, tell me what you think my outro should be. So anyways, bye.